Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you are new. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to a very exciting video. I am so excited for this video because I'm going to be flipping through my 2024 book reading journal thing. I attempted a reading journal, book tracker sort of bullet journal back in 2021 and just kind of like fell off the bandwagon with. I'm really hoping I can keep to it this year because I love seeing other people's book journals. I love seeing how people use them and what kind of trackers they have and how they review books. I think that's where I really kind of let myself down, is that I didn't keep on top with all the books I read and writing reviews in the journal. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this journal as a place where I really heavily review books because I don't particularly like reviewing books. I like speaking my reviews out to my reading vlogs and my weekly reading vlogs and my videos at the end of the month, wrap-ups, TBRs, etc. I don't as much like typing out reviews on Goodreads, writing down reviews in books, etc. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use this journal as much of a book review journal as I am just going to use it to keep on track of my stats and other fun things I consume during the year, and you'll see what I mean when we start flipping through this journal. But before we start doing that, I wanted to give you some background on the journal that I used, why I've used it, etc, etc. So the journal this year is not Scribd. I know I use Scribd throughout my journaling, bullet journal, diary planning life. I love them so much. Their quality is incredible and I just love them to pieces. My 2024 planner this year, because I'm not bullet journaling anymore, if you didn't know, shock, I don't bullet journal anymore. It's just too much stress to keep on top with of how busy my life has recently become. So I just use a pre-planned planner, still from Scribd. So this is my 2024 planner for the year. It doesn't really have as much space as my 2023 one to do extra things in it, such as keeping track of my pages I read per day, my TBR, etc. So I've had to resort to having a full-on reading journal, which I'm really excited about. So that's kind of why I've decided to do a reading journal this year, because I don't have the space in my 2024 planner to have that sort of information put in one place. So I thought, why not, let's just give a reading journal another try. So I decided to go with a plain dotted journal from Papier or Papier. I went, oh, it's upside down. I went for this really pretty floral kind of watercolor theme, which is stunning, and it just has plain dotted pages on the inside, giving you a sneak peek without giving you a sneak peek. It has one, which I don't really particularly love. It only has one page marker. I would have preferred to have two, and I've managed to customize it because Papier journals you can customize with some text. So I've titled it Just One More Chapter, Reading Journal 2024. I'm hoping that this journal might last me longer than 2024, seeing as I'm not going to be using it for a book review journal as such. I will still be tracking all the books I read in this journal, and if I so feel like a book has given me loads of thoughts and opinions I want to write down, whether that's because it's a really bad book or whether because it's one of my new favourite books of all time, I will write in it and I will do like a page for a dedicated book. But it's not going to be the main focus of this journal. I think that's where I went wrong with the last one, because I tried to do a page per book I read, and sometimes I just didn't have enough to say about that book, and it kind of made me not want to then journal about it, and so happened to make me fall off the kind of continual keeping up of that journal. So with all that ramble, I'm very excited to show you guys what's in this journal and how I've pre-planned it for the yearly spread, and I've also very ahead of myself planned out all of January spreads so I could show you in this video on how I am hoping to use this journal. Obviously I've never been successful in having a reading journal before, so these layouts could easily change across the year as I learn and adapt to how a reading journal will work for me. I will keep you guys along on a journey. I'm hoping to do monthly, bi-monthly, maybe quarterly flip throughs of this reading journal so you guys can keep up with how I'm using it and what I've learned works best for me, what I've decided to scrap, etc, etc. So without further ado, let's hop into the flip through. And before I go into lots of detail about why I'm doing these spreads, what I hope to achieve from them, I'm going to do a quick flip through for anyone who just wants some inspiration and doesn't want to hear me ramble. So let's play some music and I'll quickly flip through the journal, and then I'll come back and explain to you why I'm doing each spread.
I never thought breakups were pretty. You told a lie, I let you go. Started the words that I completed, but that was then, so long ago. told you then, like I say now, that we were golden. Now you're not here, you brought us down, I told you so. Oh, how I wish I didn't care, that we were okay, that I could just erase, rewind, let it roll. Meet me back here next year, and I'll be fine by then.
Now that you've had a quick sneak peek at the journal, let's go through and I'll chat with you in depth about what I hope to achieve from each spread. So obviously I had to start with a title page. I really like how this one's come out. I tried to be wary that this paper is a little bit thinner than the journal pages that I'm used to with Scribd and Dot. So I've used a lot of colouring pencils more so than Tombow brush pens or felt tips. And so far the bleeding hasn't been too bad, but I can definitely see it when using my Tombow brush pens, especially in black. So I've tried to use a lot of colouring pencils, and you know what, I love how the look has turned out. So this is my 2024 cover page. And then we come on to your standard, very aesthetic, not very kind of useful in terms of recording stats bookshelf. And this is just where every time I finish a book, I will draw a book spine or lie a book flat and put the title in it so I can keep track nicely and prettily of all the books I read in 2024. Then we come on to my kind of like goal tracking page. I will simply write all the reading, YouTube, content creation goals that I have down on this side. I will keep personal goals in a whole separate place, but this is just for my reading goals and my kind of content creation goals. And then here I have a square for every book I would like to read this year. There are a few more than 50 squares because my reading goal every year is 50 books, just because I think that's a good achievable amount for me. Usually I read higher, but sometimes I do struggle, so it's nice to have this sort of like out of reach goal, but also fairly achievable depending on how busy my life is in that certain year. So like I said, there are just over 50 squares on this page because I didn't want to just like stop the grid randomly like here just because that was where 50 books finished. So I just completed out the grid, and then I'll just write the actual number that I do end up reading. Hopefully it's more than 50, but you never know. We next come on to a kind of more aesthetic page and then a more practical page. So the aesthetic page is a pages in pixels, and people use this sort of idea for a lot of different things, whether that's a mood tracker or how I've incorporated it as a pages in pixels page. And basically every colour of pixel dictates a different amount of pages I read per day. Hopefully I can keep up with this one because it's a lot of work. Every day I'll have to come in and colour coordinate how many pages I read for every single day of the year. Every single 365 days I'll have to come in and colour coordinate a square depending on how many pages I read. So we'll see if this one's achievable. I think it'll look amazing at the end of the year if I manage to complete every single square. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. I would love to complete it, but knowing me and having tried this sort of thing in the past for a mood tracker, I know that I'm not very good at keeping up with this, but it was fun to create and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I can keep up with it. The next page is a very practical one, but in an aesthetic way, which I hope will work. And this is my physical TBR, read versus brought. So if we flip this to this way, because that's how it's going to work, I will use a bar graph for every single book I read in each month of the year. The months are going down the bottom and a number of books are up the top. Say I read 10 books in the month of January, I'll place a little bar up here, and then books brought in that month will be a little line graph. So say I read 10 books in January but I only brought 5, I'll do a line graph, and it'll be interesting to see the difference of how many books I read per month versus how many books I brought per month. So I think this will be a really interesting graph to look back on over the year and see whether I am able to keep on top of my physical TBR depending on how many books I read off it versus how many books I brought to put on it. So that'll be an interesting one to have a look at the end of the year. And I've also got a start and end place up here where I can keep track of how many books started on my physical TBR and how many I ended on. So yes, that one I'm really excited to fill out and hopefully it will turn out well. The next page, I've left a little space for all my 5 stars of the year. I'm very picky when it comes to my 5 stars, so I don't think I'm going to have more than 16 5 stars that are brand new 5 stars. I'm not going to be putting rereads in here because I reread quite a bit and I only tend to reread my 5 stars. I won't be putting in my reread 5 stars in here, just brand new favourites that I find in the year of 2024. I don't think I'll come across more than 16. If I do, that'll be great, and I'll do another page just like this further along in the journal if and when I need it. The next page is my 2024 TBR. I have a really fun way that I'm going to figure out the books I want to read and prioritise in 2024, and once I've done that video and shared it with you guys, this page will get filled out with all the books I want to prioritise in the year. Then we start coming on to not only book tracking, but also other things I would like to track in the year that I also consume. This isn't kind of like things I consume, but I really find it interesting keeping track of social media stats. I have no goal really when it comes to my YouTube channel. I just love creating videos. I love showing off my passions with books and journaling, and I love kind of interacting with everyone. So I have no major goal in mind when it comes to social media, but I like keeping track of the numbers and seeing how I progress. Sometimes it's really nice and heartwarming to see if you reach a certain kind of like milestone in a month and you've like really exceeded your expectations. So I've just done a little double page spread for keeping track of my YouTube and Instagram numbers across the year. A start date on January 1st, and then each month I will fill in the numbers accordingly, and then we'll see from start to end how many numbers I've grown by. Like I said, I didn't want this journal just to be reading. I wanted it to be things that I consumed in the year. Me and Mark love going to the cinema. We have an Odeon Limitless pass. I used to do this in my bullet journal when I used to bullet journal, and I've really missed doing it. I basically have this page and I'll fill out and I'll draw something related to the movie that we've seen that year in each rectangle, and then across the year I will have a beautiful, colourful page of all the movies I've seen, and I'm very excited to start filling this spread out again because I truly have missed having a spread like this in my normal planner. And this is what I kind of love about this reading journal. It's going to give me that creative outlet to do things and pages like this without having to worry about creating week on week spreads to make a bullet journal. I think this will be the best compromise. So yes, I'm very excited. Then we come on to something very similar, but for TV shows. Me and Mark have got into massively watching a lot of TV shows at the minute, especially nearing the end of the year. And I forget about the TV shows that we watched at the beginning of the year, like Traitor and like Too Hot to Handle and all these things like this. And I'd love to kind of like keep a record of all the TV shows that we've watched in a single year. So we have 20 different types of TVs here, and hopefully I can fill them all out with different TV shows that we've watched across the year. The final yearly spread we have is my Walt Disney World countdown. I could not do a Walt Disney World countdown, guys. I go back to Disney World next year and I'm so excited. So this will be the spread that I start using when I'm 150 days away from flying, and I'm very excited to colour in a box every day and count down to Walt Disney World with Mark. I'm so excited. So those are all my yearly spreads. We now come on to my January spreads. This over the course of the year could completely change depending on how I see the journal fit in my life, what I kind of learn and what I kind of need to adapt, etc. Just like a bullet journal, all of the future pages are blank canvases and anything can be adapted if needs be. So this is my very pretty cover page. This is my monthly dashboard where I'm going to be tracking the number of pages I read per day, split up between 25 page increments, 25, 50, 75, 100, etc. all the way to 300 in case I decide one day I'm going to be a machine and read an entire book in a day. And then we have my TBR where I'll just write down the books that I'm going to read that month. And then we're going to have a little section of the books I actually read this month. I've only done 3 boxes for now because 3 tends to be my minimum amount of books I read per month. I could also push it to 9 and 10 if I wanted to, and I'll just draw the boxes. These boxes will be drawn illustrations, representations of book covers that I've read. I love doing this when I had a reading journal before, so I'll be bringing it back. This is something completely new to me, so I'm not sure how it's going to work, but this is my monthly stats page. I will simply write how many books I've read in the month, how many ebooks I read, and how many audiobooks I listened to. These two will be pie charts of pages versus minutes read, and then this will be my genres, so that'll be there. Then I have a star kind of graph tally thing where I'll just tally how many stars I've given each book across the month, pages read, and average per day. So I'm going to see how this one turns out. This will probably be the page that probably adapts the most across the year, but I'm excited to kind of see how it works for the first month and learn from it and kind of see where I want to improve in future months. And then this last kind of chart is to kind of keep track of more individual elements of each book that I read. So we'll see how this one works. Once again, it could completely change, it could get scrapped. So I'll simply write the book title here, when I started it, when I finished it, and then these are all going to be tick boxes. So the first one is a book off my physical TBR, if it was a reread, and if it was borrowed. So that's kind of like where I got the book from. And then the last 6 are all kind of the genres that I read. So whether the book was a contemporary, a romance, a fantasy, a mystery, a sci-fi, a non-fic. These are my most read genres of 2023, so that's what I based it on. That could once again obviously completely change. It may end up being completely useful for me, but I wanted a place where I could note down if it was from my physical TBR, whether it was a reread, whether it was borrowed, etc. So we'll see if this one works. I might find a better way to figure that out in later months, but that's kind of how I've laid it out for January. And that, for now, is where I've got up to with my reading journal and where I'm going to start tracking my reading in the year of 2024. Obviously, there are more things in this journal than just books, because like I said, I want to keep it more of a things I've consumed in 2024. So I will be keeping track of TV shows, of movies, of other things, and if a movie that I've seen in the cinema is amazing, I might do a movie review page. It could all depend. This is going to be my creative outlet for 2024 and I cannot wait to start using it. So there we have it. That is my reading journal for 2024. I'm still going to be tracking some of my reading digitally via Notion and Goodreads, but this is going to be like the way I allow myself to be creative during the year with my reading, and I cannot wait to take you guys along in kind of learning how to use this journal and what will work for me. Let me know how you're going to be tracking your reading in 2024, whether it's going to be through a journal, Notion, Goodreads, or any other form. I would love to know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a massive thumbs up and subscribe down below to see future content from me. I do anything from weekly reading vlogs, monthly TBRs, monthly wrap-ups, book journal, reading journal videos will be coming in the new year, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any more future content from me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.